So, on this emotional scale, on one end it feels really good, on the other end it feels really not good. On the end that feels good, you use emotions or words that describe emotions that feel like passion or enthusiasm or joy or appreciation or love. They are all vibrationally equivalent or close enough that it's splitting hairs to try to separate them. On the other end of the scale are emotions that you would describe like disempowerment or bondage, maybe even, or fear, or depression, or despair. All very close vibrationally, splitting hairs to really try to separate them. And on the end of the scale that feels wonderful is your perception of empowerment. On the end of the scale that feels awful is your perception of disempowerment. And around that feeling of disempowerment is, I feel awful about this, and I feel powerless to do anything about it. And what most of you say is, if that condition would change, I would feel better. And we don't disagree with that. Because we see you looking at conditions that make you feel good, and we see you feeling good. And we see you looking at conditions that make you feel bad, and we see you feeling bad. And we understand why you would say, I need to just change this condition. I just need to take an action that gets that out of the picture so that I don't have to deal with that anymore. And we say, you can do that, and you might receive a little bit of relief from it. But it is ever so much more effective if you take an emotional journey where you little by little coach yourself into a different vibration. And when you do coach yourself into a different vibration, you will close the gap between where you are right now and where you really want to be. And closing of that gap is really what the art of allowing is. Closing the vibrational gap between what I'm doing right now and who I really am as source energy in a physical body, and what I've added to that knowing through the trial and error, sifting through contrast that I've been doing today and yesterday and all of the days of my life experience. So here you are, leading edge creators. You are God. If you want to use that term, we call you source energy. We call you eternal consciousness. We call you infinite intelligence. We call you the leading edge of thought. We call you source energy in physical bodies. And the only reason that you ever do not feel that you are source energy in a physical body is because you have fixated on something or other that has you vibrating at a different frequency than that which really is source. And so there is a vibrational separation between who you really are and who you are allowing yourself to be right now. That's why we call it the art of allowing. The art of allowing yourself to be as happy as you really are, to be as healthy as you really are, to be as abundant and prosperous in all things that you consider to be good as you really are. You get to choose. Free will abounds. You are so free, you can choose bondage. But the thing that we want you to understand is that your freedom is a perceptual thing, because freedom is. No one can vibrate for you. No one can perceive for you. No one can direct your thoughts. Oh, they can influence. They can behave wonderfully and help you to feel good, and they can behave horribly and help you to feel bad. But no one can get inside of you and offer your vibration. You are the only one who offers your perspective. And friends, you can guide it more effectively than you know. The reason that you have not been guiding your vibration as effectively as you are really capable of doing is because you've been trying too hard to take too big of jumps. You're over here and you want to be over there, and when you try to jump, you can't. Your well-meaning Abraham teachers and students will say to you as they see you in your negative emotion, you know, you create your own reality. You need to cheer up. And you want to say, it's not possible that I create my own reality, or you would be gone from my experience. The grief you bring me, I'm certain I have no power. And we want you to understand that you have full power, and that the grief that you are feeling is because you are choosing to let whatever you are observing set the tone of the way that you are feeling, rather than withdrawing your attention from that and putting it on something else. When you withdraw your attention from those things that are not pleasing you, and you put your attention upon those things that are pleasing you, what begins to happen is that those pleasing things become more abundant, and those not pleasing things become more rare. until eventually those not pleasing things cannot be part of your experience because you have eliminated your attraction factor from your vibration. What you think and what you get always matches. As Jerry and Esther are traveling, as they do constantly, they travel from Phoenix to San Diego on a regular basis, eager to get to San Diego. Cool and beautiful, wonderful restaurants. They always so look forward to being there. And as they're traveling the 400-mile distance westerly across the desert, they do not feel uncomfortable or worried that they will not reach their destination. They never come to the halfway point, which is approximately Yuma, Arizona, right out there in the middle of the desert. They never get there and feel so discouraged as they take score of where they are, that they have not yet achieved their manifestation of San Diego, that they freak out and then get disoriented and turn around in the wrong direction and go back to Phoenix. Of course, that's a ridiculous picture, isn't it? Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma. Oh, where? How will we ever get to San Diego? Phoenix, Yuma, Phoenix, Yuma. They said it was only 400 miles. We've got 20,000 miles on our odometer. What's going on? Why does San Diego continue to elude us? And we say, nothing eludes you when you focus on it and continue to move toward it. And of course, that's a ridiculous analogy because you don't get lost out in the desert. There are signs along the way. You have compasses and navigational systems and people that can point you in the right direction that have been there before. In other words, you don't lose track of where you are relative to traveling from one place to another. And yet we see you often lost in relationship to your physical wellness, or lost in relationship to financial abundance, or lost in relationship to the improvement or the attraction of a relationship that you've been seeking. And the reason that you are lost is because you are not quantifying your journey in the only way you ever can, which is by paying attention to those two reference points. Your contrasting experience has helped you to know where you want to be. And the inner being, source, non-physical God force part of you knows where that is and is guiding you toward it. So there's that point, and here's where you are, and you can tell by the way you feel whether you are marching towards something that you're going to like when you get there, or whether you're marching towards something that you're not going to like when you get there. You can tell by the way you feel. But until you reach the place where nothing's more important than how you feel, you'll march in the direction of opposition toward what you want for a whole lot of what we see as really, we love you, foolish reasons. Foolish reasons like it's interesting, or foolish reasons like it's the way I've always done it, or foolish reasons like somebody else does it, or foolish reasons like my mother told me to do it this way, or foolish reasons like it's the way it's always been done. There are endless foolish reasons. Foolish reasons like I seek the approval of my peers, or of my government, or of my religion, or of my spouse, or of someone. And we want you to decide today, if you want to get on your path of deliberate creation and really be the allower that you were born to be, we want you to leave here saying and really meaning, nothing is more important than that I feel good and I have the capacity to do it. But I don't have to do it all at once, and I don't have to do it all this red hot minute. If I just gently begin to guide myself in the general proximity of feeling good, I will get generally feeling better. And if I continue to guide myself in the general proximity of feeling good, I will get feeling better. And as I continue to do it, I will get feeling better and better and better and better and better until I will once again resume my natural, joyful self. But most of all, more than anything else, more than everything else, most of all, we want you to make peace with where you are. Because when you stand in a place of shame or embarrassment, feeling unworthy, wishing that you could take it back, feeling regret, you're still moving in the wrong direction. Only you can write your course. And the thing that we think that many of you do not understand is that when you are in despair, when you feel out of control, when you feel powerless in where you stand, and you find rage or revenge or anger, and you feel relief in that, you are moving in the right direction. And those people around you who don't want to see your anger, who don't want to see your rage or revenge, who tell you that it's misplaced or inappropriate, don't know about your vibrational points of relativity. They can't guide you. And of course, we want you to quickly move through the revenge stage before you actually take it. We want you to move quickly through the anger stage before it causes some stronger repercussions and attracts some stronger manifestation. But we would rather that you attract the manifestations that are equal to anger than that you attract the manifestations that are equal to powerlessness. We would rather that you attract the diseases that are equal to anger than the diseases that are equal to powerlessness. Do you acknowledge that there is relief from despair in anger? Then you know how to use your guidance. Do you acknowledge that there is relief in frustration from anger? Then you know how to use your guidance. Do you acknowledge that you feel better when you are appreciating than when you're criticizing? Then you understand your guidance. But what we think you don't understand or remember is that wherever you are is all right. And wherever you are, you have choices now. And you don't have to go back and figure out how you got to where you are in order to take the improved step. And we think it is the need that you have to justify how you got to this place that you don't want to be that is primarily responsible for you staying there longer than you need to stay. And the reason that you do that, dear hearts, is because at deep levels you know who you are. You know you are love, and you know you are supposed to feel good. And you know that you are blessed, and you know that you are worthy. And you know that you are an uplifter. You know that you are love. And when you stand in a place that is less than those things, you freak out on many, many levels. And then you spend a lot of time trying to justify why you're not where you want to be, because you know at these deep levels that you ought to be where you want to be. And we agree, you ought to be there. But when we say you ought to be there, we don't mean you ought to be there because you owe it to anybody else. We mean you ought to be there because that's what's natural to you. You are lovers, and unless you're loving, you're not who you are. You are fantastic creators, and unless you are joyfully romping through life in a passionate feeling way, you're not who you are. And so, how do you get into this place where you feel less good than you really are? What happened? Well, you were non-physical energy. So far, so good. You saw Earth, time, space, reality as the leading edge of thought. So far, so good. You said, I will project a part of my consciousness into a human body where I will be on the leading edge of thought. So far, so good. You said, there will be magnificent contrast and diversity that will make it easy for me to define my personal preferences. So far, so good. You said, Source, in the moment that I define a preference, will join me in it and align circumstances and events to bring it about. So anything I need or want to have or be or experience will be there. So far, so good. And then you saw something that you didn't want to see. Something different from who you are. You looked out into the world and there it was. And your first impulse was, somebody should call somebody. That unwanted thing should not be there. But then you remembered, oh yes, it's a well-stocked kitchen. All ingredients imaginable can be there. My job's not to sift through the kitchen and decide what should be there or not be there. My job's just to take from the shelves of the kitchen what I want to put in my pie. So far, so good. And then, as you move through life experiencing more and more contrast, you said, isn't this magnificent? Because the more contrast I see, the more variety I'm exposed to, the more choices I have, the more clear I become of what I want to do as a leading edge creator out here on this leading edge of thought. The more exposure to the more contrast, the more clear I become. Do you understand that worthy perspective?